And so today, as we begin the first teaching of this new year, it's really thinking about action, about practice itself. We have our teachings, we have our study time, um, but bottom line is, how's that work in our life, and what is the action of practice? How do we, what's it look like? How are we achieving anything? Do we know if we're on the right track? And so I was reflecting on myself and thinking about, how do I, each year I kind of get back to basics a little bit. And every day, those of you that are doing a daily practice, we start our day with a motivation. We start our day with some meditation. We are cultivating a great deal of merit through our 4 immeasurables practice, through our 7 limb practice, through purification. We're cleansing karmic imprints. We start a day with some mental stability, motivation, so the day is already becoming imbued with merit and wisdom. We reflect upon the rare and precious life and the opportunity that comes but once, called today. And then hopefully we are entering the day mindful, present, cultivating virtue, avoiding non-virtue, and bringing loving kindness, compassion to ourselves and others as we embark upon the day, that we have some ability to be mindful of our interactions, to kind of observe them, notice when we're grasping, getting self-cherishing attitudes, when we're being captured by afflictive emotions, the ability to let go, the ability to notice certain habits and patterns. And in that way, we can actually have a vipassana practice all day long, can start seeing and recognizing afflictive states, my grasping, my confusion arising in anger or insecurity, pride, or fear, things of this nature. And the big deal is, is it coming from my side or from out there? So, there's a real tendency that if that was different, and so as we observe this, we'll gain some wisdom, some insight, and then every evening there's an opportunity to really note what we did well, our understanding, the essence we've drawn from the day, and purify negativities. We've got the 4 opponent powers, which you can do the 4 opponent powers without a Vajrasattva practice. You can do it with a Vajrasattva practice. But practices of purifying negativities, changing harmful mental habits and transforming them into more virtuous ones, and then a dedication of merit at the end of the day. So that would be the mechanics of practice in a day. And with those types of mechanics, we have an opportunity to every single day cultivate merit, cultivate wisdom, purify negativities, and we just start sifting through harmful habits and afflictive mental states and cultivating the ones that are more helpful, purifying, and gaining more understanding through our interactions and our observations of these habits and tendencies that tend to grasp at me and mine, and recognizing more interdependence, a greater flow with understanding we and ours, and this experience that's very interdependent. And the idea is that day by day, as I do this, wisdom grows, merit grows, afflictions and grasping reduce. But it's a slow, methodical process, right? Just because we have a good Dharma talk on Wednesday doesn't mean Thursday, you got nailed. It's like, oh, okay, so I'm going to do this. And then sort of day in and day out, what happens over time is we look back after a year and go, wow, I'm a lot lot different than I was a year ago. There's a lot less stress. I'm a lot more flexible. I'm more quickly able to adapt to life on life's terms. I'm, able to recognize, the true source of kind of my suffering in a situation is because, I want it to be different. And some kind of belief around that. Dogs. So putting this into practice, there's within the 5-point mind training, what we call the five powers. So this is the synthesis of practice for a single lifetime. Basically, all the teachings, right? We get a lot of teachings. We can study a lot of different texts, but essentially, there's these 5 powers, these 5 things that really are the whole point. It's the synthesis in a single lifetime. But I think if each day we kind of bring them to mind in a sense, well, yeah, these components happening in my practice? Are these components being manifested now? I'm engaged in my day. I think then we have a real opportunity to really synthesize everything that we're learning. So I thought it'd be nice to tap into those. But like I do every time, before we get there, so that would be the 5th point in a 7-point mind train. Is that right? No, the 4th point. I'm getting mixed up now because I think the 5 powers are in the 4th point. Yeah, 5 powers are in the 4th point because they wouldn't want to put them together. That would be way too easy. So, but there's another point that is, how do we measure our practice? How do we measure the measure of mind training, they call it? And I think that's very relevant to reflect on with the new year. Are you making progress? Are you making progress? Is this, worth your time and energy? And, the first thing is, right off the bat, the main point is, am I more or less self-centered now? Am I able to, is there a less sense of grasping to a self-centeredness, a self-cherishing attitude than there used to be? And all of Buddhism is to really get us to understanding this very interdependent, very dependently arising self, and do I have a stronger sense of that, or do I still have a huge degree of self-cherishing? Has that changed? Has it lessened? Do I see myself now more, understand myself as a part of something rather than the center of it? And so that's the number one measurement. All this is going towards that. So it's something good to look back, a year from now, a year from year prior to today, what were you like? I mean, and now, is there more lightness around it, grasping the self, a little more fluidness to it? Am I a little less self-centered than I was? So something to reflect on. And the third point to check up on here in that is, are you happier? I mean, I think that's a really good one. Are you happier? And we're not talking about giddy happy. We're talking about, is there a greater degree of well-being more often in your life? Are you, have a sense of being capable, adaptable, happier? Can you let things go a lot easier? And can you enjoy life a little bit more? Because that's, again, his willingness to go back. The whole point is to be happy. So some measurement is am I getting more tight? Am I getting more rigid? Or am I getting more, joyful? Is there, a greater degree of well-being, a certain ease with life, and some lightness as compared to a year ago. So I think these are things to look at and remember, so we can evaluate how we're doing. So as we end a year, begin a new one, it's nice to kind of see about that. And then as we engage in this new year, it's kind of nice to look at these 5 powers. But I'll just pause there, see if anyone has any questions or thoughts regarding sort of evaluating their Dharma practice. Are most people a little bit happier than you are? Sort of, a little bit, smidgen, a little less rigid, a little less grumpy. All right. Good.
John, I learned a long time ago that fear is the basis of all destructive emotions. And I've kind of, through some reading I've done recently, been able to start to, sometimes it's pretty clear when there's a destructive emotion that fear is the basis. But a lot of times it's not that clear. But I think of starting to get a little bit better grasp on that. Can you maybe provide some explanation as well, so I can sort of keep that ball rolling? It seems like a very useful tool when there's this destructive emotion, either that I'm experiencing or that somebody else is experiencing, to remind myself that fear is the basis of that emotion.
Yeah, that's an interesting, there's sort of that kind of philosophy that you're either coming from love or fear, right? And if it's fear, then, we have these destructive things. And I do think that's a useful quick check. I don't think fear would be the basis of all afflictive. Misperception would be, if you go below fear, you got sort of misperception. You can always work fear in there. There's a way to, even if maybe I'm angry, not because I'm tangibly capable of fear, but some desire is not being met, something's obstructing. That's kind of the theme with fear, with anger, is something's thwarting what I want. So that might be like, I really want this, but if you go a little deeper, you might find some fear that you'll lose what you want, and things like that. So you can always work fear in. But if you want to use that as a basis, then let's take a look at fear a little deeper and use the words, fear, false evidence appearing real. Okay, so now I'm into misperception, right? False evidence appearing real, which gives rise to fear, and then fear, anger, right? And or afflictive, it doesn't have to be anger, it could be a lot of things. And so I really like that acronym, false evidence appearing real. As I hit any afflictive emotion, when the red flag goes up for me, false evidence appearing real. I'm delusional. I'm grasping to a sense of self in a way I am not, and that the world out there is causing this in a way it's not. And so I really like, if you do go to fear, a little deeper understanding of fear then becomes false evidence appearing real, and making the situation, real in a way it's not. And then that even lessens fear, noting fear. So even fears arising, not just something else that fear is motivating, but fear itself is, in terms of false evidence appearing real. So I that has worked for me for a long time. There's a few other ways of using that acronym with some different ones. But I think, for me, I really like that because it reminds me of my misperception, which is core to samsara. So can I be in touch then when an afflictive state arises that false evidence is now appearing real? And that might ease it. Does that work for you?
Yeah, that's one more tool I can put in my toolbox when I feel an afflictive emotion or see somebody else with an afflictive emotion. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah. I think as for me in my life, just noting, and we're going to get to that in the 5 powers if I ever get to it, but you know me, that could be a couple weeks from now. That as I familiarize myself with that habit of like even that acronym, you know, and I use it more, then now I know that when I have that tension in my body, when I have, you know, something arising that's afflictive, you know, it's a quick shortcut to, you know, I'm grasping in a way I don't exist. You know, this is, you know, it's just misperception. And it just kind of quickly gets me back into reality more often. So that opportunity can be really helpful. It doesn't mean that we're still not going to, you know, have some feelings and do some things that aren't very appropriate. But at least, you know it quicker. And it has helped me come back to a space of more balance quicker. Well, let's just take a quick look at these 5 powers. So, synthesis of practice for a single lifetime. These things, and you know, the first one is, and it's again with a morning practice grade. It's, you know, resolution, resolve, right? So, I wake up, and you know, and here's a day that's coming, and I'm going to resolve to use it wisely. You know, I'm going to, in a technical teaching in the 5 points, it's resolved to never be parted from the 2 bodhicittas, the ultimate and relative. That I'm in this to attain enlightenment. I have a firm resolve to not waste my life, and I really like, you know, even a softer version of that would be His Holiness's little morning invitation, which I'll pop up here. I can share it right here. So, you know, from His Holiness, really strong, nice way to start your resolve every day. Think as you wake up, I am alive. I have a precious human life. I'm not going to waste it. I'm going to use all of my energies to develop myself, to expand my heart out to others, to achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all beings. I'm going to have kind thoughts towards others. I'm not going to get angry or think badly about others. I am going to benefit others as much as I can. You know, so that's a great way to start the day. A good resolve, right? A good resolve to live fully today. And
John,
yep.
what is the name of the morning practice?
So it's literally just morning practice in our little daily practice book here. So you can download that from our website. It's a little handout.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have a morning sort of short practice, a longer one. But this is in there. And so generally I record every day in my morning practice and post it on our page. But you can download this, do it on your own. It has all of this right on from our webpage.
I thought there was a certain name to like the actual practice in the morning.
No, not a specific. Yeah. So
Okay.
we're just doing our morning practice. Yeah. So this is a nice thing here, and you'll note, you know, so I said there's a resolve to not be parted from the 2 bodhicittas, or but if you look right here, right in the to achieve enlightenment for all beings, you know, so there's bodhicitta right there. To achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all beings. And, you know, here's this, and that's aspirational bodhicitta right there, aspirational. And so taking some time to really, you know, start my day and, you know, bringing this to heart, not just an interesting reading, and then And then some people might get to this little part here. It says, I am not going to get angry or think badly about others. And yeah, then they think, yeah, good luck with that. But the resolve is to not do it today, right? Okay. Like maybe it seems overwhelming, maybe it seems unrealistic, but maybe you could do it for one day, right? Maybe you can do it for one day. And that's what we're talking about. One day. This is what we're going to do.
I will not get angry with others.
And so that's available. And I'm going to bend. Now, yeah, right. What happens? We'll get angry. But the thing is that we resolve, we do our best, we set an intention. And so, again, in the morning practice, we take a little time to reflect on the precious life. And so there's really a resolve to start our day. And if we were to go a little further down here in our refuge, we're back to I'm taking refuge until I'm enlightened, not just for while it's comfortable. I'm taking refuge until I'm enlightened. And the positive potential I create by practicing generosity, ethics, patience, choice, effort, concentration, wisdom, well, that means I'm actively going to be involved in the bodhisattva path. I am actively engaged in the 6 perfections. And so having a resolve, but be real clear about it, not it's some vague things, some nice words I say in the morning, but here's the resolve that I'm not going to waste this day. And that's why I like going back up here, I'm not going to waste it. I'm going to really use my energies to develop myself. That, here's a day that comes only once, and I don't know if I'll be alive tomorrow. And I've got this firm resolve to not be parted from this path, to not be parted from cultivating these potentials for the benefit of others. A firm resolve to not get angry, to cultivate loving kindness, and really start your day with this firm resolve. And it's not something that you only need to do first thing in the morning. You can have this resolve throughout the day, and even for the next period of time. Sometimes it's good to have a resolve if you're about to interact with someone that is going to be a challenging situation. I'm going to take a moment to set my resolve to be there in a way that's beneficial, that's cultivating compassion and wisdom. And I think that would be, really valuable. So this resolve, so having this resolve, so a reminder, why you're here, what it's all about. Second of the powers is familiarization. And, this is just critical. This is, familiarization. When the Tibetan word for meditation is actually to become familiar with, gom, to become familiar with. So to become familiar with something, the mind, the object of our meditation, to become familiar with it. So whatever we're meditating with, to become familiar with. And we only become familiar with something by repetition, right? Again and again. And so a part of becoming familiarization is having a practice that is routine and stable. You'll notice that when we do practices, we do the same thing a lot. And that's so we can become familiar with it, so that it can be, a part of us. The piece here that's tricky is that, things can become rote. And so keeping it fresh, developing a familiarity that allows for a freshness to what we're doing. I was looking earlier, I may have in this Kindle here. If it's easy. Resolve not to. There we go. That was my Kindle talking. Yeah, here we go. I can share this. One moment. So the power of familiarization. Oops. You see at the bottom, but it says profound spiritual transformation. It's the highlighted part. occurs only with persistent practice, for it is through familiarizing ourselves with fresh ways of viewing reality and fresh ways of responding to situations that old harmful patterns are broken up. Okay, so being familiar, being present, and noting with freshness about these things is what's helpful. And then a little further, he says, sudden breakthroughs such as vivid insight are certainly meaningful experiences on a spiritual path, but unless they are sustained through the power of familiarization, their long-term influence in our lives is bound to be quite limited. So the point being made is, I think we've all had this, our practice is really good, like we're in a zone, like I get it, and, there's some peace and ease. And then it's like, do I really have to go meditate? Do I really have to, that was so last month and I was so into it. And here I am, now it's, Wednesday and so we have an ebb and a flow, right? And so familiarization is really developing a way of creating these really healthy habits of practice that get us to be able to have that presence of mind to really bring these truths into our day and to bring this insight into our practice, to have a meditation that it will allow us to understand ourselves and our experience better. And so part of it is doing the same thing, but doing the same thing allows us a freshness of mind, real buoyancy. So for example, some of you I know follow along with the guided meditation when I record in the morning. And when I read those 2 verses, I take a moment and I think, what's fresh about this to me today? It's these same 2 verses I read every day. Well, what's jumping out at me? What's important? Sometimes it's, just that this life's going to end, that's jumping out, or, so based on where I am that day, it's the same verses, but I'm looking at it and what's really fresh about it today that is, that is so important. And so it's the same habit. It's the same, getting up, it's the same thing, but bringing a freshness to them, a rare and precious life that, comes but once. And what are the qualities of that? And what am I grateful for? And so bringing a clear, fresh mind to that each day is going to be really helpful. So familiarization has to do with, on one part, a routine that's very familiar. You can just drop into it. When you meditate, that's why we have the same posture, the same kind of format. And then your mind, can more easily drop into meditation, more easily bring to mind these qualities. So to become familiar with. So to create some good routines and habits that can be very conducive for your practice. And the next one is white seed. So white seed is really cultivating merit. Just as much as you can, just bring a good motivation and intention to everything you're doing. Like remembering that this is all for the benefit of all beings. That I like to think, even when I resist something negative, something harmful, that's for all beings. It's not just for me. And sometimes that helps me stop doing something negative. Like, yeah, it's kind of negative. I can handle it. But if I indulge in that, I'm lessening my ability to help others. Then there's a reason to not do it. And then engaging in virtue and knowing that your virtuous actions are helping all others, that it puts you in a better space to help them, that, there's untold benefit. I was in a Safeway. Yeah, I took my granddaughters down to get some little treats, and there was an elderly lady in sort of the kind of electric cart, and she's kind of half asleep, just sitting there, and I just noticed her and talked to her. Hey, how you doing? It turns out she works there, and husband's late picking her up and, this and that. But, for us to, be with her and, see another human being and have a motivation to, engage with her and, let her talk and have the grandkids right there. And those types of things, we might do them anyway. But what if we understood that reaching out like that also has an impact? It has an impact on the woman. It has an impact on my grandchildren. And they see that kind of an interaction that others pass by, that the merit of it, we don't know what's going on. But so it's one of these things where it's not, I want to do it for credit. That's not the mind, but understanding that every one of these interactions has benefit beyond what we are aware of. And that it's not just, having a conversation. It's, two rare and precious lives, coming together and alleviating suffering in some way. And that's truly meaningful in this path. And so a mind that recognizes the value of it, that is much more exponential than just an interaction. And you've all heard me talk about putting a tip in, instead of just a tip, can this really help you and all that. And, so it's, again, today I was out with my son-in-law, and it's like, leaving the tip, just thinking, just taking that moment. Wow, in this day and age and COVID and being out here, I really hope this helps, in some way. And, so having an awareness of what you're doing and why you're doing it, and bringing that compassionate motivation to it, and you're just cultivating more the white seed, the merit of each interaction. And we can do that with all things. I mean, technically you can do it in all things, and I can't enunciate it quite the way that Geshe did, who became my teachers, currently now the abbot of Ganden Shartse. But, the first talk I heard on this was from him. And, he was talking about going to the bathroom and having a good, may these, bacteria feed, whatever needs to be fed so that, things can continue to grow, like, going to the bathroom, I mean, that mind, I'm not there yet, but he was, and you could tell, like every interaction, he had this sort of thought of it being of benefit. And so the more we could do that, and again, not a self-centered, but benefit to all beings, that's going to be powerful. So what if we had that kind of motivation more often? So we've got resolve, right? Resolution, familiarity, white seed, merit. Next one is abhorrence, kind of a renunciation. Depends which book you read by Allen's, but is what we're doing helping us renounce samsara or not? Is it increasing my afflictive desires or decreasing them? And so developing in his later book, Allen uses the word abhorrence, like, and he relates it to, like, this terrible meal he had, his first, in India. And, it was with rancid butter and meat off the hook, and he was puking for 3 days, and he had a real renunciation or an abhorrence for that food. And, for a few days anyway. But that renunciation would have, some sort of degree that there's nothing about this worldly life that is interesting at all. It's just, there's no catch there. And so, but it doesn't mean you can't enjoy a nice dinner or, a ski run, right? It doesn't. What we're renouncing is the delusion and the hook. We're renouncing being distracted from our path of awakening, and renouncing the delusional aspect of, this or that will make it all okay for me, versus, an understanding of the nature of reality and our experience, and how do I use this experience in a way for awakening. That's why I'm here. I'm not here to have, at the end of my life, what's it all about? Having a bunch of stuff, or about the path of awakening? What's really my motivation? So renouncing that sort of worldly grasping that's based on, some belief system that samsara is gonna, if I can just decorate samsara, I'll be all right. Rather than, can I use this experience of samsara for awakening, for the benefit of all beings? And just not getting sidetracked, so renouncing that sort of delusional thinking that actually creates the suffering in my life, versus the opportunity to use this rare and precious life in ways that are meaningful for myself and others. So my degree of renunciation. So that would come back to the measurement of having trained the mind. Is there more self-cherishing or less? And self-cherishing is not to be confused with self-worth, right? Self-worth, your Buddha nature, you got a lot of self-worth. There's, confidence, no problem. Self-cherishing is actually based on an insecurity, again, which should lead to fear and insecurity and a lot of, trying to get everything to go right. Self-worth and understanding your Buddha nature, you got it covered. You're capable. This is the opportunity to grow. And then last one, see, we're coming up on the hour here, is prayer. And I think prayer is just such an opportunity. That's the input. That's the ingredients of my mind. What am I bringing into my mind? What am I fueling my thoughts and motivations with? And here, they often are talking specifically about the prayers of refuge, the prayers of cultivating bodhicitta, the prayers of never being parted from teachers and teachings, these great aspirational prayers at the end of the Chenrei Sig practice that we do. There's beautiful dedication that, may all beings be free, and, whatever I do can help all beings, and may I never be parted from perfect teachers. And in all my lifetimes, this building of prayer to stay committed and to pray for your connection to good teachers, to teachings, to the Dharma, life after life, that you're planting those seeds. So those seeds are in your consciousness, so that those, if you don't plant the seeds, they're not going to grow. Yeah, good point, Medford. He's talking about, instead of white and black seeds, talking about positive potentials, growing positive potentials. And that's a good language for it. I'm using white seed because it's in that text right now, but thank you. So what are we doing now instead of white seeds? Because, that implies it's sort of good and bad and some biases, and also not very helpful in a lot of cultures. So, but positive potentials, growing the positive potentials. And again, prayer would lead to that way of watering and nurturing the positive potentials, those seeds of connection, those seeds of Dharma within ourselves and others. And the opportunity would also be in prayer. That when I am in prayer, when I am even in prayer for others, well, I'm protecting my mind, right? I'm not caught up in a lot of negative or afflictive mental states, and if I start to recognize that my mind, as we do anything, meditation, whatever, you'll notice a lot of thoughts come up, a lot of afflicted mental states, a lot of things arise in the mind. Well, they're arising from my previous experience and what I've put in my mind. So what if I was putting in prayer? What if I was putting in aspiration? What if I was putting in compassion and thoughts of others? Well, then that becomes the ingredients, right? And the seeds that we grow. And so later on, those are more naturally arising when the thoughts that arise in the mind out of habit, well, they're arising from, these prayers and what I'm putting in my mind, what I'm, consciously watering the seeds of my consciousness with. So prayer becomes a really wondrous thing, and it builds these connections. And I start to see things. So if I'm praying for, loving kindness and care for others, and I see others, I might see them in a good way, instead of a threatening way. And so it's going to imbue even how I perceive a moment. So these are the 5, and I think that it's a good opportunity as we begin a new year and start to see, well, do these 5, are they a part of my daily practice? Because am I starting my day with some, resolve to live this day fully, cultivating bodhicitta and wisdom and loving kindness? Do I have a routine that I'm becoming familiar with that is getting used? It's kind of like riding a bike, right? As you ride, it becomes more comfortable, it becomes more effortless. Am I then bringing an awareness and a motivation to cultivate the positive potentials in my activities that benefit all beings? This merit that I'm cultivating. Are my activities lessening my grasping to self or strengthening them? Right. So back to renunciation. And what kind of prayer? What are the thoughts going on in my mind? What am I doing here? So can I include some of that prayer and aspiration within my life? And so those are the 5 powers they talk about of transforming or synthesizing a practice in a single lifetime. So you can see they're all really practical, right? And whatever we're doing will be contributing to those or not. And so I think that I'll stop there. And just check in, see if anyone had any questions on those. But my encouragement is to take a little time and assess your practice as we begin a new year, and what you can formalize that would include or lead towards having all 5 of these components in a daily practice. So I'll just check in, see if anyone has any thoughts or questions there before we head on to a dedication. Okay. The next thing I'll let you know is in 2 weeks, I'd like to begin a new book. And 4 Noble Truths by His Holiness 14th Dalai Lama, best book on the 4 Noble Truths I've ever tapped into. You can poke around, get it in your, hopefully, whatever bookstore you'd like. On Amazon, they do have a Kindle version as well as regular version. Let me see if I can go back to my Kindle and library, show you the cover. So right here in the middle, the 4 Noble Truths, Dalai Lama. Now there's also another book, and it's called A Simple Path by His Holiness. It's actually the same book, and it's a beautiful book, has these wonderful images in it. Generally costs more, but you might find it used. And if you go to our website, let me stop that share. I'll just show you the cover, because we actually use that book as the cover of that book on our website. Let me see if I have our website right here. I do not, but I will in a moment.
And you said it's the same book?
It's literally the same book, but it's it's just got these beautiful images, and they kind of repackaged it later. So, but you might have it, and there's no, one or the other, doesn't really matter. So I am going to show you this. So here's the cover of it. It's on our main website page, A Simple Path, the Dalai Lama. And so either book. And in 2 weeks, I would love to, start there. It is, it's in the 90s that he gave us this teaching, and just starts with such depth. And I think, it would be a valuable way to start our year. There's, it's, man, just so pithy, so right to the whole point of Buddhist practice. So I encourage you, if you get a chance, to get that book. I have both of those versions at home, but I also just got the Kindle one, so I can have it on here, so we can reference it from time to time. But a very comprehensive look at the whole path. So in 2 weeks. Next week, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'll be traveling to Texas, but I may record something, or I may just have a teaching. Aaron is back in town, so we'll still have a teaching here next week that we can broadcast and do together. And hopefully, Aaron could also have a little discussion around that as well. So thank you very much, Rachel. All right. And then in 2 weeks, we'll start with that text. Sound good? All right. Yeah, I figured Dalai Lama, we're not, it's good, pretty solid ground there. So let us go ahead and dedicate the merit that we have cultivated here. And then you could hear my kids and grandkids, everybody's downstairs. I don't know if you can hear them, but I can't. Waiting for Grandpa to come down. So, all right. So let's just take a moment to be in this moment, and just a moment to recognize the incredible opportunity to be here with each other, with the Dharma, with the path of awakening, to have access to the 5 powers of synthesizing the whole practice of Dharma in a single lifetime. And let us dedicate. By this merit, may I soon attain the enlightened state of Guru Buddha, that I may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their sufferings. May the precious Bodhi mind, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. All right. Well, thank you all so much. Such a joy to be able to join you on this 5th day of the new year, on this Wednesday evening. Good to see y'all. And all right, Gunnison came online, Judy, and everybody. I get to see a small slither of people. We got Betsy and Judy and Michelle and Pam and Medford and Jojo and Rachel and Karen. No, it's not really Karen. That's Will, who's acting like Karen. And Ka. All right. Lots of love to you all. Please be well. Take good care of yourselves. And please take good care of those you come in contact with. All right.